being this side of it, actually, though.
We're on now, all right? So, good morning,
best behaviour.
And it is Wonderful Wednesday with Grant Saunders. And we've already been talking and chatting, and we couldn't even record that beginning bit properly. Now, I met Grant, funnily enough, in Missouri at a conference at the St. Louis conference, and Grant is from Yorkshire. Yep. I am from Yorkshire, but we had to meet each other in St. Louis. Yep. So I love that. Now, and whereas I could have met Grant at Huddersfield, Halifax, at a stage hypnosis show, although you might not have spoken to me then, not unless I've been up on stage doing something crazy and wacky like I tend to do. Anyway, Grant, take it away, because you and I, we could chat for ages.
Oh.
Tell us, yeah.
Yeah, we do, and we always get in trouble at these conferences as well, because we do chat and we do have a laugh. But that's the most important thing, especially in this world that we live in, the hypnosis world, where we're in the business of changing people's lives. It's very serious, but you got to have fun along the way as well.
Well, I remember there was one night. I mean, and it must be our English sense of humour. Nobody else was getting it, but you and I, we just had the giggles, the most amazing giggles, and people are going, "What are they drinking?" We weren't drinking anything, but we couldn't stop laughing. And then they were going, "Really? You're just laughing at that?" And we were like going, "Yeah, I guess it must be an English thing."
When though, you've got that. When you make that connection and you just know it's funny, you can give someone a look and both you just know. But yeah, I always remember that's one of the best nights I've ever had in Dave and Buster's, where we were just laughing like children.
It's so funny. Now, Grant. Okay, you do loads of different things.
Everything.
Just do stage hypnosis, because what I was quite interested in is, because it's coming up for wedding season. You actually also help the people do grooms, or the father of the bride, with their speeches. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's weird because, like, as well as the entertainment side, I mean, my history, I was a hypnotherapist before a stage hypnotist. But once I got into the stage, that just, it took over. I love it. But then I also want to kind of, from coming from a place where I had a fear of public speaking, I also want to help other people with that. And so I kind of got involved in the wedding industry softly at first I used to exhibit at wedding fairs in order to showcase my business for weddings. But then a lot of people kind of like, I wouldn't have a hypnotist at my wedding, but would it be able to help me with this? And so that then developed into something else as well. And it's, as a hypnotist, we've always got to think on our feet, but we've always got to look at, different avenues, different revenue streams, different ways of raising our profile as well as raising our bank balance and helping people at the same time. And so it's like, how can I take those skills and use it to help people that are nervous when it comes to their speeches, the confidence on their wedding day? And so that kind of developed another line within kind of my industry. But for me,
it's fabulous. It's such a good idea.
Well, it's weird, the opportunities sometimes, if I'd have thought about it, it never would have popped in my mind, but opportunities sometimes show themselves to you and you kind of go, oh, that makes sense. And I have a terrible habit of, if it interests me, I'll say yes, and I'll find the time. And I want to see where it will go. And anything I try and do, I always try and do it to the absolute best of my ability. I want to give it 100% to see what happens. And, that's ended up taking me around the world. I know it's definitely taken you around the world. We've got to see what happens. Don't limit our own selves from our own limiting beliefs. And so it's been good to me so far.
Yeah, I love it. And because the thing is like you like me, we love to keep on learning and tweaking. And what else? Well, what else could I do? What else? We have that question all the time. And it's like, and then somebody will throw something out there and it's like, oh yeah. And then we expand on it and explore it. And it's getting curious about it and wondering. Yes. And then when you're with like-minded people, it is. I mean, that's what happens at these conferences. We all just go, blah, 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 and it's like, oh yes, and oh yes, and it is. It's wonderful. Now, when's the next one? When am I seeing you again? Hypnothoughts?
I'll be at Hypnothoughts. So I think conferences this year for me is Hypnothoughts, because you've got to be at Hypnothoughts. It is a great place. And then I'm doing the closing keynote at the Michigan conference in Detroit.
You are.
And then I'm at, obviously, the Performing Hypnosis Summit in Las Vegas, which is a conference that I run with Jim Kellner, which is aimed at performers, not just guys on stage, but also mentalists and street performers as well. Because in all those conferences, stage hypnotists were kind of left out of the loop a little bit. So it's just dedicated to the performance side of hypnosis.
Okay, yeah, I did guerrilla hypnosis. I learned that
Oh, brilliant.
with Rich Cuzzy, and we went out and into Las Vegas, and I was on the Strip, and I was hypnotizing people right outside the Bellagio, and they were going into that state. It was such fun. I mean, obviously with their permission and things like that, and making them giggle and laugh, and then giving them some positive feedback. And I mean, we really can take people into that trance-like state, just like that, if they want.
It's so weird because, like, for years there was like the two camps, like performance hypnosis and clinical hypnosis, and the two never seem to mix like oil and water. But the reality is every stage hypnotist should have some clinical knowledge. I believe it is so important for that to happen, because when you're doing it, anything could happen on stage, and you should have that knowledge base there as well. But by the same rule, every therapist, every clinician should learn an element of stage or performance stuff, because it helps you think on your feet. And it also means that, just because you do an impromptu demonstration on someone doesn't mean it doesn't have therapeutic value. By making someone giggle for a couple of minutes over something silly, that can really have great benefits. But most importantly, it helps you showcase yourself as a hypnotist to that person, anybody watching, and a great way of increasing your bookings.
So, well, it's true. I'm up here in Toronto at the moment, and I'm staying in an Airbnb, and there was another guest there, and he said, I just said, oh, I'm a hypnotist. And he went, you're a hypnotist? I went, yeah, I do hypnosis. I see people for this and this. And I said, but I could do stage if I wanted to. And he said, can you do hypnosis on me right now? Can you take me into hypnosis? I said, yeah, sure, if you want me to. And he said, oh, I'm scared. And I said, well, all you need to do is this, this, this. I just said, all you need to do is this. And he was like, and I said, you'll be able to stand safely. And I had him down, and I got him to chuckle, and I gave him a load of positive suggestions that he'll have a wonderful day, week, month, the rest of the year. And then I brought him out really quickly, and he was just like, oh, that was amazing. And I've just started a new business, and that couldn't have come at a better time. Thank you, because I feel really great.
Exactly. And it's not that. That's 5 or 10 minutes of our time. But that's an impact that person will probably remember for the rest of their life. Now, that's an amazing thing. That's a gift you can give someone that is going to have an impact for the rest of their life. It's a disservice to not do it.
Oh, I agree. And it's such a cool technique, because we can all do it. We all go into hypnosis every day anyway. Exactly. There's a lot of people who get really frightened of hypnosis. What do you say to them when they say, oh, no, I'm scared of it? What do you say?
I think you can pick up on a few cues. You get some people that are a bit coy about it, and they are a bit nervous and shy. But if they've got that curiosity, then that fear helps them go into hypnosis. If it's someone that has, and you can see again by reading their cues, if it's someone that has a real fear of it, then they're not going to go. So I never push somebody, but I always kind of, when you see that little bit of curiosity and go, I always go, let me show you something. I'm not going to hypnotize you. What would you like to know if you could be hypnotized? Let me just show you something. And then just do a very basic, very simple suggestibility test. And then on the back of that, you kind of know then. And then you kind of go, would you like to explore this further? And generally they'll be kind of like, oh, yes. And then you go into some hypnosis for them. And it's just, you're not pushing them. I think a lot of people, when they first learn this skill, they want to hypnotize everybody and anybody. And it's important to make sure it's people that are curious and want to experience it. Yeah.
Do you do the lemon test then? Or
I don't do the lemon. I love. I say I love. I have a love-hate relationship with magnetic fingers. I like magnetic hands because I use that as my induction, and that generally is enough. I don't interlock them now. I just have them come together like that and then lock them this way. Because weirdly, in the UK, in the 1952 Hypnotism Act, you're not allowed to lock them to bring them up on stage. So I got out of the habit of locking them. And so, it was a weird kind of legislation that was brought in, that it was so people would volunteer to be on stage, not be forced to come on stage to unlock their hands. Us Brits, we have a really strange way of taking common sense and turning it into a weird law.
Okay. Well, there you go. That's us being British.
Oh, absolutely. It's what we're best at.
Have you got a funny story?
I've got a few. One of my weirdest stories I talk about on set. Well, there's two very quick ones. One, I always kind of lead with this story. I was once invited up to Balmoral Castle to perform, but weirdly, the next day I had to be in Rotherham in South Yorkshire, and it's like an 11-hour drive between Balmoral in Scotland and Rotherham. So when the show was finished, I've jumped out, ran round the corner of the building, the palace, got in the car, pulled the car around, jumped out to get my speakers in, and then got floored by armed police. Because one thing apparently you're not allowed to do when the Queen is in residence is to pull your car up and jump out and run off. So they thought I was a terrorist. But that was that. And the other time was a time in Crewe when I was in the middle of my pre-talk, which is the most essential part of any kind of hypnosis demonstration. I'm in the middle of my pre-talk. I'm trying to build the prestige and build it up. Someone snuck round the back of my stage, came up behind me, grabbed hold of the side of my trousers and just pulled my pants down. I was stood there on stage in Crewe, my pants around by my ankles. I would love to say I had some amazing witty comeback and saved the show. I absolutely died on my ass after that. There is no way of getting credibility back after that has happened to you.
Sorry.
I know.
What I'm thinking of, I wonder what would have been worse, pulled them down or pulled them up.
Well, I would prefer them going up, to be fair, than down. But do you know what? When they say, I mean, I had a fear of public speaking. They always say like the worst fear is to be on stage and be in that situation. But you know, once it happened, nobody died. And I got through the show, and it was a terrible show, don't get me wrong. And I got through the show and I got in the car on the way home and I thought, you know what? Nothing worse could possibly happen than that. And it's okay. You know, it wasn't posted all over the internet. It wasn't everywhere. Nobody was ringing me up laughing at me or anything like that. It just happened. It was a thing. It made me realize, make sure when you're on stage that your belt is tied tightly. That's it. A lesson learned. But when you realize that actually through that really helped me develop such a stronger confidence on stage, because anything that could go wrong has pretty much happened. And I survived and got paid afterwards. So
there you go.
That's the worst it can be.
Yeah, because the worst thing has already happened.
Exactly.
And now
exactly.
anything can only be better. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And never work in Crewe again.
You don't know.
That was my mistake. I should have been working in Crewe.
So you've got a couple of shows coming up, have you, in Halifax and Huddersfield?
Yeah, so I'm quite lucky that when it comes to the stage stuff, especially here in the UK, I am quite busy. So I do a lot of stuff down in Cornwall. So tomorrow I'm down in St Ives in Cornwall, and then back up in South Yorkshire on Sunday for a wedding, which is quite nice. And then in a couple of weeks' time, and it's nice, I'm actually at the John Smith Stadium, which is a very nice venue in my hometown. So to be working in my own hometown is really special for me. So there's lots of marketing out there for that. And that's like a production show. So I have two types of shows where I'm booked to perform, and then other shows where they kind of book me and production as well. So, you know, we've got lighting, we've got staging, we've got, you know, it's made to look spectacular, and it helps me create the show that I want to put on. So I'm not at the mercy of the venue sound and lighting. So yeah, I really like that. And again, but I also love coming over across the pond over to the US and doing kind of like the proms and after grad parties over there as well. Because again, it's a different type of audience as well in the US, especially for stage stuff.
Yeah,
so I do enjoy doing that.
Do they do that in England? Do they do?
No, absolutely not. We're so strict here in the UK. So you can't hypnotize anybody under the age of 18. And so kind of like the prom market is not here at all. Weirdly, in the UK, I don't know how I would feel about hypnotizing somebody under 18. In the US, it's different. It's well accepted and it happens there all the time. I once, as a hypnotist, did a hypnosis demonstration in a college for some students that were aged between 15 and 18. And it was a demonstration on the power of imagination. And there was all sorts of loops jumped through to allow this to happen legally and ethically in the college. And I remember afterwards, part of me was really pleased to have been one of the only hypnotists to do that type of demonstration. And the other part of me was like, I don't know if I would do it again, just because the fear of if something did go wrong, it all gets focused onto the hypnosis and it can be an absolute nightmare.
It's not necessarily the hypnosis at all, because everybody goes with hypnosis. I used to do hypnosis on children because I see children. But I always had, I can't remember the proper waiver in England. You know, I want here in America as well to say that I could work with children. And it's very, very effective.
Yeah.
The youngest child I saw was 5
Wow.
in England, but I didn't necessarily hypnotize her. I played with her.
Yes.
I played with Barbies for 2 hours, dressing and undressing Barbies. And as I was playing with her, we were working through the noises, because that's what she was afraid of, noises in the house. And I was telling the Barbies, it's like, it's okay. It's just the sound of the radiator, because of course in England we have radiators, and to keep everybody warm, or it's the sounds of the leaves or the creaking of it. And so she ended up telling that to the Barbies. And then we ended up taking them to school. And then we ended up telling them about if there was a couple of nasty little girls. And then we were talking through that. And then she was telling that to the Barbies. I only saw her for that one session. The mother was there the whole time, but we just did it through play.
And play is so powerful, though. That's the thing. Because as hypnotists, especially if we deal with grown-ups, we kind of give the suggestion and their mind kind of analyzes it and all of this stuff. But through play, it's such a great way of bypassing that kind of critical faculties and going straight into the unconscious as well. So that's really clever. Yeah.
And it was, as I said, never played with Barbies for so long, not as an adult.
Yeah.
And all the little clothes.
Yeah, I have a business coach here in the UK, Gareth Boots. Gareth is a great business coach, but he doesn't do things conventionally. So rather than kind of meeting in an office and writing some stuff down and going through it, Gareth meets at the Yorkshire Sculpture Park, and it's like, right, we're just going to go for a walk, and we're just going to talk about whatever comes up and see what happens. And at first I thought, this is the most expensive walk I've ever been on in my entire life. But at the end of it, I was like, wow, that really works, because you're concentrating on just being in the moment. And so again, it's that kind of the play side of things really works.
Well, you were pacing as well.
Oh yeah,
so you're absolutely. Like, walking, you're distracting, and I agree. Some of the best talks that I've had with people is often when we're side by side talking, because it's like you are able to become more imaginative. What a very clever ploy. I like that.
Yeah, it is brilliant. I told him at the time, I went, I'm absolutely going to steal that from you.
Very good. So, I mean, what else have you got going on? Because you said you do, because you were on streams, you're on.
Yeah, well, the pandemic happened. Now I have the wedding side of my business and the entertainment side of my business. And when the pandemic happened, I mean, that wiped all of that out. And so I started live streaming just as a way of kind of, as a stage performer, it feels weird to not perform, and live streaming was the first thing that I did in the pandemic that made me feel like going on the stage. There was the nerves about going live and all of that, and I brought some of the stage elements to my live stream, and I started interviewing other people, and then I suddenly realized that collaborating and reaching out to other professionals like what we're doing now is one of the best ways of kind of growing your sway and your influence. But two, it helped me emotionally and psychologically during that time.
Yeah.
And weirdly, everything I do, I always try and kind of go, what's the best I can get from this? I ended up doing quite a lot of live streams. I was fortunate enough to interview some of the best stage hypnotists in the world. Some of those, unfortunately, they've passed now, but we've still got that legacy recorded. But then the company behind the live streaming kind of saw what I was doing. They reached out to me. And now, I would say live streaming is probably a third of my business. And so that is now, I'm very busy, a busy fool sometimes, I think, but live streaming has become a big part of my business. And it's a great way to create authentic connections with people. And it's the closest you can get to a face-to-face conversation,
I know, anybody in the world. I love it. Yeah. I actually really enjoy doing these little videos because it's so much fun. Yeah. And again, it promotes somebody else and they can use their link on another platform. And it's
I just say this as well, as a live streamer, as someone in that industry, you're absolutely smashing it. I think you go live so consistently, so often, and you do it so well, which is so important. So many people start it, do a couple, feel uncomfortable, and then stop. Whereas you've absolutely smashed it. So, I doff my cap to you on that. Absolutely.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Well, I enjoy it. And I think it's because I do it well enough, good enough. I'm not a perfectionist. And I think that really helps because I do make plenty of mistakes and I give myself so much grace.
Yes. But it's they're the things that make it authentic. Because, you know, if we were having a conversation in the street or at Dave and Buster's, there's lots of imperfections in the words that we use, in our manner. All of that is imperfect. But for some reason, when we commit to video, we try and make it perfect. Whereas the reality is by it being imperfect, the audience connects with it on so many more levels.
Yeah, I tend to agree. So, because otherwise I also just get bored. So that's anyway, you and I could talk forever. And I'll have to do this again, Grant.
Definitely.
So I wish everybody a wonderful day, and it's goodbye from me, Claudia Rickard, and it's
goodbye from me, Grant Saunders.
So take care, everybody.